starting a reading series, so if you want to follow me through it with me, chapter 1 today. 1 minute the teacher was talking about the Civil War, and the next minute he was gone. There, gone. No poof, no flash of light, no explosion. Sam Temple was sitting in third period history class, staring blankly at the blackboard, but far away in his head, he was down at the bench, he and Quinn, down at the beach, with their boards, yelling, bracing for that first plunge into the cold Pacific water. For a moment he thought he had imagined it, the teacher disappearing. For a moment he thought he'd slipped into a daydream. Sam turned to Mary Terrafano, who sat just to his left. "You saw that, right?" Mary was staring hard at the place the teacher had been. Where's Mr. Trenchleg? It was Ken Gaither, Sam's best, maybe only, friend. Quinn sat right behind Sam. The two of them flavoured window seats, because sometimes, if you caught just the right angle, you could actually see a tiny sliver of sparkling water. Between the school buildings and the homes beyond. "He must have left," Mary said. That sounded like she believed it. Edilio, a new kid Sam found potentially interesting, said, "No man, poof." He did a thing with his fingers that was a pretty good illustration of the concept. Kids were staring at one another, craning their necks this way, and then giggling nervously. No one was scared. No one was crying. The whole thing seemed kind of funny. "Mr. Trentlake poofed," said Quinn, with a surprised giggle in his voice. "Hey," someone said, "where's Josh?" Heads turned to look. "Was he here today?" "Yes, he was here. He was right here next to me." Sam recognized the voice. Betty. Bouncing Betty. "He just, disappeared," Betty said, "just like Mr. Trentlake." The door to the hallway opened, every eye locked on it. Mr. Trentlake was going to step in, maybe with Josh, and explain how he had pulled off this magic trick, and then we get back to talking in his excited, strained voice about the Civil War nobody cared about. But it wasn't Mr. Trentlake, it was Astrid Ellison, known as Astrid the Genius, because she was a genius. Astrid was in all the AP classes the school had. In some subjects, she was taking online courses from university. Astrid had shoulder-length blonde hair and liked to wear starched white short-sleeved blouses that never failed to catch Sam's eye. Astrid was out of his league. Sam knew that, but there was no law against thinking about her. "Where's your teacher?" Astrid asked. There was a collective shrug. "He poofed," Quinn said, like maybe it was funny. "Isn't he out in the hallway?" Mary asked. Astrid shook her head. "Something weird is happening. My math study group. There were just 3 of us, plus the teacher. They all just disappeared." "What?" Sam said. Astrid looked right at him. He couldn't look anywhere. He couldn't look away like he normally would, because her gaze wasn't challenging, skeptical, like it usually was. He was scared. Her normally sharp, discerning blue eyes were wide, with way too much white showing. They were gone, just like that, disappeared. "What about your teacher?" Edilio asked. She's gone too, Astrid asked. Astrid said. Gone. Poof, Quinn said, not giggling so much now. Started to think maybe it wasn't a joke after all. Sam noticed a sound, more than one really, distant car alarms coming from town. He stood up, feeling self-conscious, like it wasn't really his place to do so, and walked on his stiff legs to the door. Astrid moved away so he could step past her. He could smell her shampoo as he went by. Sam looked left, down towards room 211. The chapter where Astrid Math bunks met, the next door down, 213. A kid stuck out his head. He had a half-scarred, half-giddy expression, like someone buckling into a roller coaster. The other direction, down at 207, kids were laughing too, loud, freakily loud. 5th graders across the hall, room 208. 3 6th graders suddenly burst out into the hallway and stopped dead. They stared at Sam, like he might yell at them. Perdido Beach School was a small town school, with everyone from kindergarten to 9th grade all in one building. Elementary and middle school together. High school was an hour's drive away in San Luis. Sam walked towards Astrid's classroom. She and Quinn were right behind him. The classroom was empty. Desk chairs, the teacher's chair, all empty. Maths books lay open on 3 of the desks. Notebooks too. The computers, a row of 6th-age Macs, all showed flickering blank screens. On the chalkboard, you could quite clearly see Pauline. She was writing the word polynormal. Astrid said in a church voice whisper. Yeah, I was going to guess that, Sam said dryly. I had a polynormal once, Quinn said. My doctor removed it. Astrid ignored the weak attempt at humour. She disappeared in the middle of writing all. I was looking right at her. Sam made a slight motion, pointing at a piece of chalk lay on the floor, right where it would have fallen if someone were writing the word polynormal, whatever it meant, and had disappeared before rounding off the O. This is not normal, Quinn said. Quinn was taller than Sam, stronger than Sam, at least as good surfer. But Quinn, with his half-crazy, half-smiling tendency to dress in what could only be called a costume, to do his baggy shorts, army surplus, desert boots, and a pink golf shirt, and a grey fedora he'd found in his grandfather's attic, put out a weird guy vibe that alienated some, and scared of it. Quinn was his own clinique, which was maybe why he and Sam clicked. Sam Temple kept a low profile, stuck to jeans and an understated t-shirts. Nothing that drew attention to himself. He had spent most of his life in Perdido Beach, attending his school. Everybody knew who he was. Few people were quite sure what he was. He was a surfer who didn't hang out with surfers. He was bright but not a brain. He was good looking but not so the girls thought of him as a hottie.